Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to take your source material, all that research and analysis, and really get to the heart of what matters.
That's the goal. Cut through the noise.
And our mission today, well, it's crucial for anyone navigating work these days. We're digging into that sometimes very fine line between leadership that builds real loyalty
Mm-hmm.
and leadership that's just about manipulation.
Yeah, it's a critical distinction. We're looking for those, specific signs, the actions that tell you whether your leader is building something solid or just using people for quick wins.
Exactly. So what's the absolute core difference we need to understand right away?
It really comes down to one simple thing: intent. It's all about why they're doing what they're doing.
Okay.
Manipulative leaders, they're driven purely by self-interest. They want control, usually for their own benefit, often using, deceit or maybe exploiting situations.
Right, and that might get them results.
Short-term results, yes. Compliance, people doing what they're told.
But the other kind, the loyal, the ethical leaders, they're different.
Completely different motivation. They're focused on the team's well-being, on shared success. They build that long-term, genuine engagement. How? Through transparency, respect.
So it's not about extracting value from people.
No, it's about creating value with them. Collaboration versus extraction.
Got it.
So today, we're aiming to give you a framework. We'll look at that intent, the specific tactics they use day to day, and really importantly, the long-term fallout. The goal is for you to see clearly where your own organization might stand.
Okay, let's build that framework, starting with the basics, the blueprint, let's say. What defines that manipulative leader profile according to the sources?
Well, like I said, the motivation is number one: personal gain, self-benefit. It's all about them.
And are there underlying traits?
Yeah, the research often points towards things like narcissism. A definite lack of empathy is usually pretty central. They tend to see people not as, people, but as pawns or resources.
Resources to be leveraged for their own climb up the ladder.
Precisely. And their communication reflects that. It's often dishonest, secretive.
They might seem charming, though.
Oh, absolutely. Charm and charisma are tools. They're used very deliberately to deceive, not to genuinely connect. It's often an act, a performance.
And the immediate result of that performance?
It's damaging right from the start. You get that surface-level compliance, yes, but underneath, resentment builds fast, anger, trust just erodes, sometimes quite quickly.
Okay, so that's the dark side. Let's flip it. What about the loyal leadership profile, sometimes called ethical or persuasive leadership in the sources? What's their driving force?
It's basically the opposite. Their motivation is centered on the greater good of the team, the actual well-being of the people involved.
And that's not just nice talk.
No, it translates into how they measure success. It's about the team's growth, the collective success, not just their individual metrics or bonus.
And the traits that enable that.
You see things like high emotional intelligence, real integrity, a genuine commitment to developing everyone on the team, and communication, totally different.
How?
It's open, it's honest, transparent. They share information, which allows the team to make good, informed decisions. It empowers them.
So the manipulator hoards information for control.
While the loyal leader shares information for empowerment, it's a fundamental difference in approach.
And it creates a different kind of benefit structure.
Exactly. Manipulation is fundamentally one-sided. It benefits the manipulator, often at the expense of others. Ethical leadership, that's built on mutual benefit. Reciprocity.
So to wrap up this first part, manipulation is about control, often through fear or deception. Loyal leadership is about inspiration and empowerment, built on trust.
That's the core distinction, yeah. And it really dictates how they behave every single day.
Right. So let's get into those daily actions. How do these intentions actually play out on the ground? Let's talk tactics. What does that manipulative leader do day to day that starts chipping away at trust?
Well, they maintain that facade, right? They're constantly working to keep people slightly off balance. Emotional manipulation is a big one.
Like what specifically?
Using flattery when they want something from you. Then maybe guilt if you don't deliver exactly what they wanted. Or sometimes just outright fierce, subtle threats, maybe, about job security or opportunities, exploiting vulnerabilities.
And the communication. Always dodgy.
Very often, yeah. Twisting the truth. Using half-truths, leaving out key
Yeah.
context, creating false narratives to make themselves look good or someone else look bad.
Wow. And the sources mention something about actively dividing the team.
Yes, that's a really insidious tactic, pitting people against each other, maybe setting up unhealthy competitions, encouraging gossip, or playing favorites, really obviously.
Why would they do that? It seems counterproductive.
Because a divided team is easier to control. If people don't trust each other, they can't band together to challenge the leader. It keeps the leader central, powerful, undermines solidarity.
Makes sense in a twisted way. And then there's the classic taking credit,
Oh, absolutely. Taking credit for their team's ideas or successes. They need to look good to their bosses, right? So they present the team's work as their own genius
which must absolutely kill motivation.
instantly. Why bother going the extra mile or being creative if your boss is just going to steal the credit? It just crushes incentive.
And the immediate fallout you see on teams like that.
It's predictable and swift. High turnover, for one. People with options leave. Morale plummets. Engagement tanks. People start doing the absolute bare minimum. You know, that quiet quitting idea.
Just enough not to get fired.
Exactly. And innovation. Forget it. The environment is thick with fear of failure, fear of being blamed, fear of ridicule. Nobody's sticking their neck out with a new idea in that climate.
Okay, so that's the corrosive effect.
Yeah.
Now let's look at the other side again. The loyal leaders' tactics. How do they build that foundation?
They focus on building real commitment, and it's reciprocal. Mutual support is key. The leader protects the team, shields them from, say, unfair blame or external pressures,
And the team responds.
usually with increased accountability. Yeah, they take ownership because they feel supported. It's a two-way street.
And they focus on growth.
Huge focus, not just sending people on training courses, but actively creating opportunities for advancement, delegating real authority, trusting people with responsibility.
That sounds like empowerment.
It is. Letting people own their work builds their confidence, their independence. It shows trust.
What about when things go wrong? Because things always go wrong sometimes.
The loyal leader steps up. They take responsibility for the team's failures. They don't throw people under the bus to save themselves. They shield their team members from, political fallout or unfair criticism.
That must build incredible loyalty.
It really does. And the immediate impact is just the opposite of the manipulative style. Trust increases. People want to stay, so retention goes up. Productivity often improves because people are engaged. And you build a stronger, healthier overall culture with a real sense of shared purpose.
So we've seen the immediate impacts, but the sources really stress that manipulation, while maybe effective for a moment, is just fundamentally unsustainable for the organization itself.
Right.
Why is it such fool's gold?
Because it poisons the well. It's like introducing a toxin into the organizational bloodstream. That climate of fear and mistrust it creates degrades everything over time. It encourages complicity.
Complicity, meaning people just go along with bad behavior.
Exactly. Employees learn very quickly that it's much safer to agree with the manipulative leader or just stay silent than it is to speak the truth or raise concerns. Ethical standards get eroded. People stop challenging bad decisions.
And the sources point to real-world examples of this, right?
Yeah.
Massive corporate failures.
Oh, absolutely. Think about Arthur Andersen involved in the Enron scandal or the scandals at Wells Fargo with fake accounts. These weren't just isolated incidents. They stemmed from cultures where that kind of deceptive internal loyalty, that pressure to conform, completely overrode ethical behavior. The consequences were catastrophic for the companies.
And part of that catastrophe is the talent leaving, the brain drain.
Yes. It's not just that turnover is high, it's who leaves. Often, it's your most experienced, most principled, highest performing people. They have options, and they won't tolerate a toxic environment.
So who stays behind?
Well, this is a key point in the sources. Often the people who remain are either the ones who actively collude with the toxic leader, perhaps benefiting from the dysfunction,
No.
or they're the conformers, people who are maybe more risk-averse, less likely to challenge things, or perhaps feel trapped. And their presence just reinforces the toxic culture, making it even harder to fix.
So this isn't just about bad feelings. It hits the bottom line hard.
Directly. You have the obvious direct costs, huge fines from regulators, lawsuits, losing major clients who don't want to be associated with unethical practices.
But also hidden costs.
Massive hidden costs. The constant expense of recruiting and training new people because everyone keeps leaving. The loss of all that institutional knowledge walking out the door. And just the sheer drag on productivity when people are disengaged, working in fear.
That's powerful.
And perhaps the most chilling point, It comes from financial analysts cited in the sources. They increasingly see a toxic company culture not just as an HR problem, but as a leading indicator of future financial trouble. The rot inside shows up on the balance sheet eventually.
So the decay is measurable long before the company
You
collapses.
can often see the cracks forming, financially speaking, yeah.
Okay, so if this toxicity is so destructive financially and culturally, let's zoom in on how it destroys the core element, trust. What are the specific mechanisms manipulative leaders use daily to just obliterate trust?
It often starts with a deliberate lack of transparency. Withholding information is a key tactic.
How does that work? Just not telling people things.
Yeah, deliberately keeping employees in the dark about important decisions, changes in strategy, maybe even potential layoffs.
Hmm.
It's not just poor communication, it's calculated. It creates uncertainty, anxiety.
Paranoia, even.
Absolutely. People start assuming the worst, assuming information is being hidden for manipulative reasons, which it often is. It breeds suspicion.
And then there's the really nasty stuff, like gaslighting. We hear that term a lot. What does it mean in this context?
It's a specific form of psychological manipulation, really psychological abuse. The leader deliberately tries to make employees doubt their own perception, their memory, their judgment, even their sanity.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Maybe denying they ever said something you clearly heard them say in a meeting? Or blaming you for a negative outcome that was completely outside your control and insisting, no, you misunderstood, or you must be remembering it wrong.
That sounds incredibly destabilizing.
It is. It's designed to destroy your self-trust. If you can't trust your own judgment, who do you turn to? The manipulator, who then offers their version of reality. It makes people incredibly vulnerable.
Wow. Beyond the mind games, what about just basic fairness?
Often completely absent. Playing favorites is common. Rewards, promotions, opportunities, they go to the leader's allies or the sycophants, not necessarily based on merit or performance.
That must poison the well for the whole team.
Immediately. It creates huge resentment, kills collaboration. Why bother working hard if you know the rewards are rigged?
And breaking promises.
Oh, constantly. A leader's credibility evaporates the moment they fail to follow through on commitments. A promise about resources, about a policy change, about backing someone up. If they break that trust, their word becomes worthless.
So you can't rely on anything they say.
Nothing. And that loss of credibility is almost impossible to repair.
All of this seems designed to create fear.
It absolutely cultivates a culture of fear. A blame culture is a big part of it. When something goes wrong, the first instinct is to find someone to blame, usually lower down, to protect those at the top.
So people stop taking risks.
Completely. They stop admitting mistakes, which means the organization can't learn from failures. It becomes safer to hide problems than to address them.
And honesty gets punished.
Often, yes.
Hmm.
If you offer constructive criticism, point out a flaw, or challenge the leader's narrative, you might face dismissal, defensiveness, maybe even retaliation.
So the lesson is,
Keep your head down, stay silent, comply. Honesty is dangerous. And that's the absolute opposite of the psychological safety needed for a high-performing team.
and you mentioned earlier, sometimes they even encourage infighting.
Yes, some manipulative leaders actively stir the pot. They might spread gossip themselves or subtly encourage backstabbing among team members.
Why on earth?
Again, it keeps the team weak and divided. If everyone's busy watching their backs and competing internally, they're not looking critically at the leader. The leader remains the central point of power, the one everyone has to appeal to.
It's a bleak picture. The outcome of this downward spiral seems inevitable.
It really is. You get that brain drain we talked about, institutional knowledge disappears, productivity dives to the bare minimum needed just to survive.
And zero innovation.
Zero. The risk is just far too high in that kind of environment. Trust is gone, fear dominates, and the organization is just slowly suffocating.
Okay. This deep dive has really laid bare the stark contrast. It presents a clear choice, really, for anyone listening, as they look at their own leaders and organizations.
It does.
Are you in an environment that prioritizes short-term control, often for one person's gain? Or is it about long-term commitment, mutual success, genuine engagement? The evidence we've looked at seems overwhelming.
It really points in one direction for sustainable health and success, doesn't it? Manipulation might offer a quick fix, but it's ultimately corrosive. Loyalty, built on trust and ethics, is what sustains.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up, let's leave our listeners with something to chew on, a final thought.
Okay.
Given that manipulation, especially things like gaslighting, relies so heavily on messing with people's heads, on making employees doubt their own reality,
undermining their perception.
Exactly. What specific tools, maybe mental frameworks, or even practical tactics like documentation, can you as an individual cultivate to hold on to your own sense of reality, your self-trust, when faced with a leader who seems determined to deny what you know to be true?
That's a really practical and vital question. How do you build that internal shield against intentional deception? Something definitely worth thinking about.